Hello everyone, I'm Listianing Rahayu and my partner Novitasari. Today I would like to present our work on the implementation of online literature circles in reading class. First, I'd like to start with talking about reading. We know that reading is actually, it looks simple activity, but actually it can be complicated, right? So reading is actually where our learners analyze and also synthesize various information during the activity. In reading, they also practice high order thinking skills and learn more about the subject matter. And sometimes there are problems with reading activities. Sometimes our students lose their motivation to read long and dry texts. And sometimes reading is seen as tedious and demanding activity. Sometimes they feel that it is too hard for them to read because the text is very difficult or maybe it's not really familiar topics. And therefore, we like to introduce literature circles into reading class in which the students read literary works. So for more advanced learners can read novels and the lower level can read a short story. And it allows students to learn the language and also culture from the story. However, there are more aspects that they learn during literature circles that will be explained later in the following section by my partner. And in the literature circles, it's actually allowed for independent and student-centered activity and also collaborative learning. But the overarching goal of the literature circle is to make reading a habit. So we want to make reading a habitual action for our students. Not only they read because they have to read or they are forced to read, but they read because they enjoy the activity. And when we look at the theories, related theories on student-centered and collaborative learning, we want to relate it to literature circle. So SGL or student-centered learning focuses on learners where the learners are assigned different roles because they are the center of the learning process. And when we talk about collaborative learning, we may not forget about Vygotsky's theory of cognitive development, which state that development is actually social. So the development happens when there is social interaction because the learning is actually internalized through the interaction by our learners. And Jacob also mentioned that collaborative learning promotes more student-centered activities because it increases learners' motivation and make them feel individually accountable. And here I'd like to explain more about the aspects is integrated into literature circles in terms of SCL and collaborative learning. First, learners are engaged in the co-construction of knowledge. So they not only learn the language, but they also construct very specific knowledge, especially about the story that they have read. And it is internalized by the members of the group during the interaction because through the interaction negotiation happens, not only because they explain their ideas, but they also ask questions to other members and ask for clarification too when they don't understand something, and they also exchange ideas about the story. And in terms of language development, learners practice the language and builds confidence in using second language because the literature circles allows the learners to integrate the four language skills, not only reading skills, but also writing, listening, and speaking. They write something when they have to fill out the role sheet, and they also speak during the presentation. And of course, they also listen to others during the presentation. And when we talk about collaborative learning, we know that it helps create individual accountability. So in literature circle, different roles mean that each student is the expert of his own role. For example, if the student is a word master, it means that he is the expert of the word master, etc. And we talk about positive interdependence too among the students during the literature circle, because although it allows autonomous learning, but it also create an dependence, which is happening positively among the members because the success of the literature circle is dependent on the teamwork. And last but not least is about teacher's role, which seems very small but very important during the literature circle, because we know that during the interaction, sometimes we found transfer of incorrect knowledge may happen, like the students may exchange wrong ideas or maybe wrong information. So it is the teacher's role to monitor the students' interaction. So the students can provide feedback and scaffolding for the students. And then the next is literature circle roles and also implementation that will be explained in details by my partner, Bu Novitasari.
Okay, thank you very much. Right now, I would like to carry on the next discussion. It's about roles in literature circle. There are 6 roles that must be performed by students. There are discussion leader, summarizer, connector, wordmaster, passage person, and also culture collector. And the students who are assigned the role will be the expert of their roles. And the next one, I will show you the jobs of every role. Okay, this one is the role sheet of every role. The first is discussion leader. A discussion leader has responsibility to make sure that everyone has a chance to speak actively in the discussion. She also must call every member to present their prepared role information. In overall, she or he must guide the discussion and keep it going. And to begin with, they open the discussion by asking at least 5 questions about the story. And then the next role sheet is summarizer. A summarizer reads a story and makes notes about the characters, events, and ideas. They also talk about the summary to the group. And then the next one is connector. Next. Okay. For connector, he will be in charge for looking for connections between the story and the world outside. They also make notes about at least 2 possible connections based on their own experiences or the experiences of their friends, family, or 2 real-life events. And then the next role is word master. For a word master, she must look for words or short passage or phrases that are new or difficult to understand found in the story. He or she must choose 5 words that she or he thinks are important for the story. And finally, she or he must explain the meaning of the words in simple English to the group. And then the next one is passage person. A passage person will be responsible to find important, interesting, or difficult passages. She or he makes notes about at least 3 passages that are important for the plot or that explain the characters or that has very interesting or powerful languages. And the last one, next, is culture collector. For a culture collector, he will be responsible to look for both differences and also similarities between their own culture or the culture found in the story. And they also make notes about 2 or 3 passages that show the culture points. And right now, we move to the next slide. It's about the implementation of literature circle. So there are some procedures that can be followed by teachers when they are going to implementing cycle of literature circle. The first one is the teacher should introduce literature circles, roles, and also the procedure to the students. And after that, the student decide the member of the group. Every group consists of 6 members. And the next one is each group chooses a book, a short or short story to read, and then they have to decide the role for each member. And then the next one is students complete a reading progress and role sheet every week, and they have to report to their teacher. And the next one is students conduct online meeting for discussion, and in that meeting they have to perform their roles. And the last one is the teachers serve as facilitator and also evaluate students' performance. However, if you want to apply this kind of teaching method, you can adjust based on their reading level, or also you can adjust the level of difficulty of the novel or short story. You also can adjust the time for accomplishing the reading. So it's up to the teachers and also depends on the students. And finally, we go to the end of the presentation. Next, okay. Literature circle can be a fun and meaningful activity for incorporating literature and also extensive reading. And the last one, we can conclude that through literature circle, an effective student-centered and collaborative learning can be achieved since the activities create individual accountability and also positive interdependence among students. Okay, that's all about our presentation. Thank you for your attention. See you and bye-bye.